Horror games don't always need monsters, weapons, or over the top jump scares to be effective. Some of the most unsettling experiences come from the simple feeling that something isn't quite right. That's the idea behind Floor 9, a psychological horror game that challenges your memory, your attention to detail, and your ability to notice the smallest changes in an environment that seems to repeat endlessly. After finishing Floor 9, I came away appreciating its unique approach to horror. Rather than throwing players into constant life or death encounters, the game builds its tension through observation and uncertainty. Every trip down a hotel corridor feels like a test of focus, and every decision carries consequences. While the core idea is strong, repetitive design choices, frustrating progression, and a few technical issues prevent the experience from fully reaching its full potential. So, does Floor 9 deliver a memorable psychological horror experience, or does its clever premise begin to wear thin before the journey is over? With that being said, let's find out. Floor 9 places you inside Hotel Liminal, a strange and seemingly abandoned building where escaping is far more complicated than simply finding the exit. What areas to be a normal hotel quickly reveals itself as a place trapped in an endless loop of identical hallways, with each floor challenging your ability to detect whether something has changed. Instead of telling a traditional story through cutscenes or lengthy dialogue, Floor 9 allows its setting to do most of the storytelling. The further I progress, the more the hotel begins to feel like a living entity, constantly playing tricks on my perception. Every corridor looks familiar, yet there's always the possibility that something is slightly different. Without diving into spoilers, the game's narrative is deliberately minimal. It reaches a level that leaves much of its mystery open to interpretation, encouraging players to focus less on a traditional plot and more on the feeling of being trapped inside an endless nightmare. While I would always have liked a little more world building to give the experience greater emotional impact, the minimalist approach fits the game's psychological horror design. From the moment I started playing, it was clear that atmosphere is Floor 9's greatest strength. The game makes excellent use of the liminal space aesthetic, turning ordinary hotel hallways into something that feels deeply uncomfortable. The environments aren't filled with constant horror set pieces. Instead, they rely on subtle changes, distorted visuals, and the feeling that the building itself is watching your every move. Lighting plays a huge role in creating that unease. Dimly lit corridors, flickering lights, and the shadowing hiding in the corners constantly force you to question what you're seeing. Because the game is built around observation, even the smallest visual change can completely alter how you approach the next floor. The sound design is just as effective. Rather than depending on loud jump scares, Floor 9 uses distinctive footsteps, creaking floors, faint whispers, and long periods of silence to keep the tension high. Every sound feels deliberate, making you second guess whether what you heard was real or simply part of the hotel's illusion. The absence of a traditional soundtrack also works in the game's favor. Low ambient drones, distorted audio, and extended moments of silence help build an atmosphere that remains unsettling from start to finish. The gameplay in Floor 9 revolves entirely around observation, patience, and memory. The objective is simple. Make your way from the ninth floor down to the first by determining whether each hallway contains an anomaly. If everything appears normal, you continue in one direction. If you notice something has changed, you must make the opposite choice. It sounds simple on paper, but the game quickly proves otherwise. Some changes are obvious, while others are so incredibly subtle that they require you to memorize every object, every light fixture, every painting, and even the smallest details of the environment. That constant process of questioning your own memory creates a level of tension that few horror games manage to achieve. What I found most interesting is how the game turns something as simple as walking down a hallway into a genuine test of concentration. Every decision matters because making the wrong choice sends you all the way back to the beginning. That risk creates real suspense, especially when you're already made significant progress. However, that same system is also where some of the game's biggest problems begin to appear. As clever as Floor 9's core idea is, it can also become frustrating. The biggest issue is that some of the anomalies are most too subtle. There were several moments where I wasn't sure if I had missed something or if the game was expecting me to notice a change that was particularly impossible to see. When that happens, success begins to feel less like careful observation and more like guesswork. The progression system doesn't always help either. Every incorrect decision sends you back to the very beginning of your run, which can quickly turn tension into repetition. Instead of feeling motivated to keep pushing forward, I sometimes found myself repeating the same sections over and over again, which hurt the game's overall pacing. The dim lighting, while excellent for atmosphere, can also make certain anomalies difficult to identify even when you're actively looking for them. Add in a few occasional interface issues and minor bugs, and there were also moments where the experience feels more unfair than challenging. None of these problems completely ruin the game, but they do prevent its strong central idea from reaching its full potential. After finishing Floor 9, I came away respecting what the developers were trying to achieve. This is a horror game that builds fear through uncertainty rather than constant danger, and when everything clicks, it creates some genuinely tense moments. The atmosphere is excellent, the sound design does a great job keeping you on edge, and the liminal space concept is used effectively to make even the simplest hallways feel uncomfortable. Unfortunately, the frustrating reset system, overly subtle anomalies, and occasional technical issues make the experience harder to enjoy than it should be. There's a strong idea at the heart of the Floor 9 game, but its design decisions sometimes get in the way of what makes it interesting in the first place. If you enjoy psychological horror games that test your memory and attention to detail, Floor 9 may still be worth a look. Just be prepared for an experience that demands a lot of patience along the way. For that, I give Floor 9 a 2 out of 5. Thank you for watching another review from the best place for independent gaming journalism, and that's the Gamer section. If you enjoyed this review, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications so you never miss our latest reviews, previews, gaming reviews, and hardware coverage. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video.